Here we have Anthony, Brian, Logan. Uh, what? Upset over some Major League Soccer players kneeling for the flag before their game. Um, th- what I find quite interesting is when people do peacefully protest over the systematic racism of the United States, you got people on the right who uh, have fits over it and call those people like anti-American or uh, terrorist or unpatriotic or whatever. And then when uh, large-scale protests do happen that result in fighting and stuff, they then want to say, oh, why can't these people just peacefully protest? What's so hard about that? The thing is, uh, we have been for decades, and the only thing that happens is more and more POCs die at the hands of the system. Um, in my opinion, enough with the uh, let's just peacefully ask the system to stop uh, mass murdering black people or incarcerating them to be slaves. It's time to tear down the system.
Today, we got to talk about Major League Soccer going down the same road as Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NHL by acquiescing to Black Lives Matter. Oh, yeah. They had on the Black Lives Matter t shirts. They're kneeling, fists up in the air, all this, that, and the third. Now, I got to give you some context to what's happening here. Major League Soccer had not played since the virus popped, but they played a game, I think it might have been last night. It was two teams on the field. You had Dallas and Nashville soccer clubs. During the anthem, they decided to go ahead and kneel. And they were in front of a crowd when this happened. Now, it wasn't the full crowd, obviously, because you can't do that. You got to be socially distanced. It was only about 25% capacity, but there were still about 3,000 people. Now, when they did this whole kneeling thing, which is on the screen before you, the crowd booed them. Oh, yeah. Not only did they boo them, they also threw objects at them from the crowd. Okay, you're in Texas. People don't.
This is, you have people trying to raise awareness for systematic abuses towards a certain group of people, and what do you get? You get booed and stuff thrown at you. Uh, I mean, how is that? I mean, our 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 nation is all about protesting and stuff, but if you protest for equality, the American system does not take kindly to that, because even though the US is all about equality and stuff, that is just one big farce.
Like this whole anti-American thing, so of course they got booed. Now, one guy from one of the teams got really upset during this post-game press conference. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and roll that clip so you can see what he said. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what he said, then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
I kind of just wanted to ask you about the national anthem and what conversations you guys had about kneeling. And I don't know if you're aware, but there's fans going, and how does that make you feel knowing that you had some people on the stands who
You
were
said there
kind
was
of
what?
opposed?
There was what going? I'm sorry.
Fans were booing in the stands when you guys kneeled. So I just wanted to ask how you felt about that, and if you had heard them.
I think it was disgusting. I think it was absolutely disgusting. You got fans booing you for people taking a stand for what they believe in when millions of other people support this cause. And we've discussed with every other team and the league what we're going to do. And we got fans booing us in our own stadium. How disgraceful is that? Honestly, for a lack of a better word, it pissed me off. We discussed that prior to what we were doing. We discussed it with Nashville. Everyone from Nashville was on board. Everyone across the league was on board with what we're going to do. We asked for no anthem because we don't feel it was right for the anthem to be played at this moment. They ignored our wishes. So we were going to kneel regardless if the anthem was played or not. But unfortunately, it was played during these times where we asked for an anthem not to be played, and it pissed me off that you can't even have support from your own fans in your own stadium.
Mhm.
It's baffling to me. As a team, we try to give the best possible product on that field, and these last 6 months have been absolute hell for us. Absolute hell. Because we have to watch other people play soccer, and we're just sitting at home, unfortunately, contracting COVID from the unfortunate situations that we were put in. And an opportunity presented itself to play tonight, and unfortunately, we're mad and upset not to get the win. But I was pissed. Everyone around me was pissed. Ryan Hollingsworth, the first thing he said to me after we got up off the knee, he said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for our fans." Because we had someone chanting USA when they don't understand what kneeling means. They don't understand why we're kneeling. They can't see the reason. They just think we're the ignorant ones. And it's incredibly frustrating. I'm sorry to have this tone, but you have to call it for what it is. I even knew when we decided to kneel, I knew it was going to happen. I had a feeling that should tell you guys something, that I knew we were gonna have some negative pushback from having a unified response over what's going on.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, I'm not really sure why this guy is so upset, why he's so triggered, and why he's so butthurt. Okay.
He's upset like any sane, rational, empathetic person. He's trying to raise awareness for an injustice or injustices that are going on, and he's being booed for wanting support equality for POCs. The fact that people on the right cannot understand that, in my opinion, shows they don't have any kind of empathy for what is actually going on.
He even said in his little spiel there that he expected this to happen. He knew it was going to happen. So it's not like you go out there and kneel and, it's going to be okay. Everybody's going to be cheering and crying. Oh, you guys are brave. Nah, you're in Texas, number one. This is not like, California, San Francisco, Los Angeles.
This is one reason why if I ever go to Texas a second time, it's just really going to be to Austin, because Austin is like the progressive progressive spring inside a red state. Not saying like all conservatives in Texas are bad, but usually if you're a conservative, you're pretty not okay with POCs.
And even out there in California, you're not going to have just 100% love for what you're doing. All right. I'm sure some fans in the crowd may have liked the kneeling, but I think the majority are not going to like it. The majority of Americans are tired of all this stuff. They're tired of the Black Lives Matter so-called protests, ain't nothing but riots. They're tired of the kneeling. They're tired of the same things from all these groups. You got the NBA doing it with Black Lives.
You also got black people that are tired of seeing their friends and family members killed by the cops or abused by the cops or in some way oppressed by the system that we live in a system where everybody is supposed to be created and treated equally. Let's deal with that first, and at the same time, we can then deal with people who don't want to see people kneeling in protest against the U.S. government, because we can work on fixing systematic racism in the United States. One thing I do find funny is that when Christians kneel for the flag to pray to God or whatever, Christians on the right are never in uproar over them doing that, saying that they should, pray and protest on their own time. they're always in support. But when you do the same thing and try to bring awareness about systematic abuses against POCs and various other oppressed minorities that Christians on the right do not like, you're considered a bad person for it.
Matter emblazoned on the basketball court. They got all kind of slogans on their back. And Major League Baseball, they're doing it. They're holding like long ribbons while they're kneeling. It's like, what are we even doing? Okay, it's to the point now where you're considered brave and bold and courageous if you stand up during the anthem. You know, that was supposed to be a normal thing to show unity, to show patriotism.
I don't consider anyone brave or courageous for standing for the flag. To me, if you wanna be upset over people kneeling and protest against systematic injustices, you're just showing yourself that you're trash and all you care about is being able to oppress others.
And now that's like the abnormal thing, and you get praised for doing it. You get praised, rightfully so, for being a stand-up person, quite literally and figuratively, but it's supposed to be that way. Okay, these guys, or at least that one guy, is so upset, but why? You knew before you did what you did that would happen. Okay, and rightfully so. Nobody wants to see that, talking about, oh, well, they're just thinking we're ignorant. And, it's like, wait a minute. You have your right to think how you think and feel how you feel. And so does the audience. So does the paying people that come to see you play. They have rights the same as you. You may feel like this is necessary to do to push forward some kind of, reform. I'm not sure what you actually want to, I'm not sure what the actual objective behind your kneeling is. But whatever you think is behind it, that's your viewpoint, and you are obliged, you are permitted in this country to have that point of view. That's fine, but so can they. So don't attack them for having their point of view. If you think that it's wrong for them to quote unquote attack you, you can't do it the other way around. That's called a double standard. What it should be is they have a right to say what they want, and you do as well. That's called freedom of speech. That's why we live in America, right? It's beautiful, ain't it? Okay.
Right, it is really beautiful to have freedom of speech, except that we don't have freedom of speech in the United States. Now, if you are outspoken against government brutality, they will fiercely attack you with the police. Even during the Obama administration, when the Occupy protest was in existence, and people were basically just sitting around, just going on large-scale strikes and stuff. The Obama administration did the same thing. They used the police to assault peaceful protesters. They used the cops to arrest people on trumped up charges, some being in jail for a while.
You just didn't like what they were saying about you, sir, and what they were doing, how they were demonstrating their, how they were doing their protest. You in the protest when they're on the ground, okay, where they're going to protest by booing you and whatnot. It's simple as that, okay? And it's really just getting kind of old. I'm not sure what the so-called Black Lives Matter movement is actually accomplishing is positive.
Well, so far, what has been accomplished since the protest over George Floyd and everything else, Colorado passed a bill removing qualified immunity from cops. A few cops have been charged, no convictions yet. There's been large-scale awareness over the systematic injustices by the U.S. government. At least one city has disbanded or defunded their police department. There is some accomplishments happening. Breonna Taylor's case is being investigated by the FBI. So stuff is happening. Um, it's not. I mean, in the U.S. Worships and praises the U.S. founding fathers when they did their protest of the Boston Tea Party and fighting back against the quote unquote systematic injustices of the British government. So, what is going on is, in my opinion, a true sign of patriotism, wanting to fight systematic abuses and change the nation for the good. The people on the right, in my opinion, would be more akin to the British people looking to continue their control over everybody else.
They're accomplishing a few things that are negative. Obviously, they're destroying a big part of the country. They're tearing down these big cities, and they're getting a lot of, how can I say, destructive policies passed, defunding the police, and we're going to bring in a social worker to deal with this nut job with a knife is about to slice my neck off. I was like, man.
Right, because all mentally ill people that the cops kill are those that are looking to harm people. There's a Supreme Court case where New York cops were trying to find a stabber. They knew he was going to get onto a subway train, place some cops onto those subway trains. The guy got on, told the cops he was a cop. They denied him entry into the subway car he was trying to get into. He subsequently attacked a person, and then after the person being attacked subdued the attacker, cops came and stopped the person. After trying to sue for the cops not doing anything, Supreme Court rules that the cops don't have the duty or right or need to protect people unless they had like some kind of police protection order and somebody was like watching their house or whatever previously. So that means a cop can watch you die after being repeatedly stabbed and having your neck cut off. They don't have to do anything, and it's they're protected by the law. So so acting like cops are there to protect people is another lie of the American justice system. They're not there to protect people. And this is one thing about defunding the police and Black Lives Matter. We need systems in place that are there to actually help people and not just some kind of armed response to where all the person knows what to do is to shoot first and ask questions later, because cops are not trained to deal with the mentally ill, with the homeless, with various other groups of people as well.
That might not be the best move. I don't see a lot of positive things coming from BLM or anybody that's out there in Major League Soccer, Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL. I don't see anything that they're doing that will actually help anything. There's actually a group in Major League Soccer called, what is this? The Black Players for Change, to address systemic racism in soccer and society. Racism in soccer, I've not heard about that in the States, maybe over in Europe, but I mean, at a certain point, it's sports, all right? And you're going to...
There's still soccer in the United States. It may not be as big as over in the European nations, but it still exists in the United States.
Have some things that are said in sports. I'm a big sports fan. I don't watch soccer, I guess, be totally honest, but basketball, oh man, I love basketball a lot. And I'm really upset at what they've done with this whole BLM thing, infusing it into it. I'm really upset because I was excited to hear them come back. I was really looking forward to them coming back in the bubble in Orlando, but now they got all this BLM stuff just put in my face all the time. I can't even really watch it. I can watch some highlights here and there, but to watch an entire game of all that, it's really distracting. It just kind of gets in the way. And then
Wow, really? Black Lives Matter is so triggering to you that you can't watch some kind of sports program if they talk about uh people wanting to save black people from being murdered by the cops or enslaved by the justice system.
there's nobody in the crowd. It's just a weird experience I don't like to have. But getting back to what I was saying, I mean, racism at a certain point, I feel like sports are sports, and you're going to say things out there that you probably wouldn't say in your regular everyday life. I feel like just being the big baby about it doesn't make any sense. What do they call Larry Bird? The hick from French lick? Is that racist? Maybe, but it's sports. I mean, don't be a big baby. It's
Wow, so he's saying because it's sports, it's okay for people to say racist stuff and to be racist. That makes no sense whatsoever. There is not like special events or areas where it's like racism is a-okay when you're here, but not okay when you're here. Racism is not okay anywhere.
simple as that. So, I mean, all this stuff people are just tired of. This guy, he doesn't really understand. A lot of these sports guys, a lot of celebrities, they live in the world that's separate from just regular everyday people. They don't understand what we're dealing with out here every day, which is why it's weird to see them with the Black Lives Matter. It's like, what do you really know about what's happening in the street right now today?
I mean, I can understand that. Celebrities tend to be pretty bubbled, but this guy doesn't seem to understand anything whatsoever as well, saying he doesn't understand like why Black Lives Matter is doing what they're doing. I mean, how hard is it to understand that black people, well, I guess a lot of black people, I guess this one really wouldn't care. They don't want to die by the cops or to be oppressed and disadvantaged by a system they live in that whose constitution says that all people are created and treated equally. Um, I mean, even little kids can understand that, and the fact that adults can't understand that, it is sometimes mind blowing. But you gotta remember, uh, majority of the people on the right have very little empathy for others.
You don't really exist in our world. Really, what you're doing right now is simply just wearing another sponsor's logo. It's an unofficial sponsor. It's a sponsor that doesn't pay him, which is kind of funny. You're just part of a marketing strategy that the organization you are employed by is executing on your back. You really don't have any kind of sway. You're not going to change anybody's hearts. If people believe in BLM, they're going to believe in it. If they don't, then they don't. And those that don't are going to be vocal about it when you try to put it in front of their face. It's just that simple. So as I close, I want to say this. The American people, not just those that are in the ivory tower, not just the rich and famous athletes or whatever, the regular everyday person like myself, like yourself, like all of us watching, and really around the world, we're tired of this stuff. All right. I love politics. I eat, sleep, breathe politics, but maybe, just maybe, every now and again, I want a little bit of a break. I want to go watch the game and enjoy the game, nothing else. I don't care if it's left politics or right politics, centrist, fence riding, not picking the side politics. I don't care. I just want to watch the game. Is that too much to ask?
Wow, his biggest problem is, oh, I can't watch the game without people talking about black people being killed by the cops in the United States. Wah, wah, wah. Boo hoo me. While there are people being assaulted by the cops for peacefully protesting against systematic abuses by the government, or being killed or gravely injured. Like the 75-year-old person in Boston who was shoved by the cops trying to return a police helmet. He now has a brain injury from it. Um, it was a video that went around. Um, in the video, you saw blood coming from his ears. The guy did nothing wrong. The two cops got suspended. And you know what happened? Like 57 cops decided to quit the emergency response team in protest over a couple cops assaulting a 75-year-old man. This is reality of what's going on in the United States. The U.S. government is uh, um, assaulting people and killing people and arresting people for speaking out against violence and oppression towards black people and other POCs. If your biggest problem is you can't watch a game because people are looking for uh, equal rights and to not be killed, well, then you, my friend, have some bigger issues to worry about, like the major need for therapy.